Marrowvale woke to a heavier silence the morning after Clara vanished. The air was thick, the damp streets glistening with an oily sheen that hadn't been there before. The townsfolk moved like shadows, their eyes darting toward the forest, where the old well waited. No one spoke of Clara, but her absence was a weight, a reminder of the price paid for curiosity. The well was sated, but its satisfaction was fleeting, and the town knew it. Ezra, Clara's older brother, arrived in Marrowvale 3 days later, his face gaunt from sleepless nights. He'd received her last letter, a rambling note about the well's song and her need to uncover its truth. The locals met his questions with averted gazes and muttered warnings, but their fear only fueled his resolve. He wasn't like Clara, all bravado and skepticism. Ezra was methodical, a man who carried a revolver and a Bible, though he trusted the former more. By dusk, he stood at the well's edge, the forest's unnatural quiet pressing against him like a living thing. The hum was there, faint but undeniable, slithering into his thoughts. It didn't call his name, it whispered Clara's. Over and over, a mockery woven into the sound. He shone his flashlight down, the beam catching glints of something wet and moving below. His stomach churned, but he tied a steel cable stronger than Clara's rope to a tree and descended, the revolver cold against his hip. The walls were slick with a warm, syrupy ichor that clung to his gloves, staining them black. The hum grew louder, splitting into voices that clawed at his sanity, chanting fragments of his sister's voice. "Ezra, help me. Ezra, it hurts." Halfway down, the cable jerked, as if something tugged it from above. He froze, heart hammering, but the forest above was silent. He pressed on, the air growing so thick it felt like drowning. When his boots hit the bottom, they sank into a pulsing, gelatinous mass that writhed beneath him. The stench was unbearable, rotting flesh mixed with a sickly sweetness that coated his throat. He lit a flare, its red glow illuminating the horror. The well's floor was a living nightmare, a sea of translucent flesh embedded with eyeless faces, their jagged teeth gnashing silently. But now, among them, was Clara, or what was left of her. Her face, half melted into the mass, stared up at him, her eyes gone but her mouth moving, forming words without sound. "Run." The ichor around his boots surged, tendrils wrapping his ankles, cold and hungry. The voices in his head screamed, no longer Clara's, but something older, vaster. "Join us. Feed us. Become us." Ezra fired his revolver into the mass, the shots muffled as the flesh absorbed the bullets like water. The faces laughed, a sound that wasn't sound but a vibration that cracked his teeth. He slashed at the tendrils with his knife, but they tightened, pulling him down. The flare flickered, and in its dying light he saw the walls moving, hundreds of faces emerging, their mouths stretching into voids that pulsed with black veins. They didn't touch him. They didn't need to. The ichor climbed higher, seeping into his skin, burning like acid as it dissolved his flesh. He screamed Clara's name, but the well swallowed it, just as it had her. The cable above snapped, coiling into the darkness like a snake. As his vision blurred, Ezra felt his mind unravel, his memories of Clara, of himself, torn apart and woven into the well's endless hunger. The last thing he saw was Clara's face, now fully part of the mass, her mouth stretching into a smile that wasn't hers. By morning, the well was still again, its surface a mirror reflecting nothing. Marrowvale's streets were wetter, the air heavier as if the town itself were sinking into the earth. The locals locked their doors, but it didn't matter. The well knew their names, and it was patient. One by one, it would call them all.